And we're ready.
Oh.
All right, welcome to the show, Jesrae Moylan.
Thank you.
You came onto the show sooner than I'd expected you to.
Yes.
From the last time we spoke was at the fundraiser or the sort of launch of the foundation, and you said, I'll come on the show. And I was thinking like next year. I was like, all right, I'll prepare. And 2 months later, you're here.
Yes. At the time I still am very emotional about the situation, but I think it's one of those things where too many people are just too silent about it. And I just feel that I have a lot to say. And whether I say it and I'm crying or whether I say it and I'm laughing or smiling, I just need to say it. And so I thought, what better way than it's Mental Health Awareness Month?
Yeah.
And what better way than to talk it up now? So.
Yeah, and it's super important, extremely important issue, because to me it's the silent killer, and it's always been.
It has.
Right.
Yes, and truthfully, had it not happened to our family, I probably would have been kept in this bubble and not realizing how bad it is.
Like the reality.
The reality, yes.
How much has it sort of opened your eyes?
Oh my God, a lot. Drastic. Like it's like I woke up and I'm in a different world. It's been that impactful in my life today.
Just pull the mic just closer to you. There you go. Yeah.
So yes, it's definitely opened my eyes, and being a mother myself, it's one of those things where I don't want my kids to be affected by it. And sure. I guess that's why I'm trying to do everything I can to help raise awareness, but at the same time, like, just improve on things.
Yeah, for sure.
You can raise awareness, but what's the next step, in making change happen?
Yeah, especially for an issue that not even an condition. What is it? How do we describe it? Is it an illness? Is it a condition? Is it sort of
we're not professionals, right?
Right.
To me, I think it's an illness.
Okay.
If someone can be that depressed or go that far to even take their life, it's not someone wanting attention. You can do other things to get attention, like you're suffering from a mental illness, and I think that the problem is people view that in a negative way. To me, at least based on my research, my readings, just being more involved in the situation, it's like, because it's not an attractive conversation talking about someone's mental illness, right? People don't want to talk about it. And the way I see it is you should be aware. You shouldn't be afraid of it. You should be aware.
I think one big thing that has to do with it too is culture. It's very taboo to talk about anybody who's killed them. No, don't talk about them. They killed themselves.
And you're right on point. My grandmother, she's very, very cultured. And, when my brother, committed suicide, she was, as you said, one of the people who were like, okay, it's done. We don't need to talk about it. We don't need to, whatever.
Brush it under the rug.
Yeah,
and let's never talk about this part of our family history
and
again.
It's like,
right.
Why? It kind of like upset me, and it upset me because that's my brother.
Yeah.
Like people who have done this in the past, you don't judge them or you don't look at them.
Yeah, I'm just going to adjust your mic because the...
hiding my face.
Yeah, hiding that face of yours. There you go.
But yeah, I don't think that you should look at them in a negative way. They're human.
Right.
They're not someone to look at and disgrace.
It's not like a family pet.
No.
It's like just throw them in the ground and cover it up and let's
call it a day.
Yeah.
It's no, like people who knew Ray knew. A side of him that was funny, charismatic, happy.
That's all I knew him.
Yeah.
I met him when he was 16, and that's nothing has changed my thought about him ever.
Exactly. Right. So how can you have that perception of someone, and then just based on what they did to themselves, you just want to totally, not necessarily like forget about them or disregard them, but act as if their actions have no reason behind it. I'm not saying that I agree with what he did, but in his mind, there was some kind of validation to why he did what he did. But in the same sense, he wasn't in the right state of mind. So he was obviously suffering from some kind of mental illness that nobody knew about.
Right.
You know?
And he's not just the only subject of that.
No, there's so many.
So many. And people that we could be talking to on our daily basis and we would never even know.
I mean, he was my brother.
Yeah.
How did I not know?
Not even one inkling of...
None. And honestly, like, to this day, that's what I struggle with.
Giving me chills.
Yeah, and then I'm probably going to cry right now, but by the way, that's why I didn't put on my fake eyelashes, because it just might come off, but...
As you're talking,
it's like,
just drooping.
Jez, let me get you a napkin there, you know?
This one we'll edit out. We'll edit out this one.
But, it's just like, I question myself every day. It's like, how did I not see it? Right. But throughout my reflections on everything, it's like, I truly, truly think it's just one of those things where we're human. Mm-hmm. We're caught up in our day-to-day routines that in our generation or just in the world today, no one genuinely checks up on people.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, half of the time, and if you try to deny this, I call bullshit, because half of the time people call someone, it's always, hey, can I borrow this? Yeah. Hey, do you have this? Hey, it's always favors, right? And I'm guilty of it. I did it with my brother.
Me too.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, like, Ray, like, he was my babysitter. I mean, I'd call him all the time, and he is so easily bribed when it comes to money, right? So I'd be like, Ray, you want to make money? Like, can you babysit for me? But never did I ever really pick up the phone, or even in front of me did I ever say, like, brother, dude, how are you?
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, how are you doing? And I think that in today's society, we don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't ever take the time to genuinely check up on people that we care about. Because
it's easier to just scroll past a picture of
liking a post or making a comment is checking on someone, and I'm not even saying
hey, hope you're good.
Yeah. It's not even about sending a text. Like, that's so informal.
Yeah, for sure. It's like breaking up with a girl over text message.
But we've become so accustomed to it.
Right.
But it's like, dude, what happened to back then when you didn't have these devices and you'd have to physically go to someone's house and talk to them?
Yeah, someone just recently goes, because of technology, people have become completely unreliable.
Yeah. It's sad. I actually just had a conversation last year with someone, and we're talking about birthdays, right? And they're like, oh, how many of your friends' birthdays do you actually know, right? I know all of their birthdays. You mean something to me. I know your birthday. Mm-hmm. And then he was like, do you send a text message on their birthday? I'm like, no. I have to admit that that's probably the one time that I actually pick up the phone and just say, hey, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Because it's meaningful. I was like, half the time people just text every day, but it's like, to me, like, especially after Ray now, like, I take the time to call my siblings and just be like, I just want to tell you I love you.
Yeah.
Have a good day. And it's like, you have to do these things because you don't know anymore.
That's for sure. My sister just did, she graduated from high school and she did her senior retreat, and my mom was like, hey, can you write your sister a letter? And my older sister, she's in the States. She's like, really? Like, a day before you're going to tell me? I'm like, I don't want to type this.
Yeah.
There's something about meaning that we're missing these days. Things meant something back in the day. Now it's just like, all right, all the characters look the same.
I know.
Right? Nothing really changes from text message to text message, from people to people. You can't even differentiate unless the words were there. If you take away the names and the numbers that were there, it'll all just be the same thing.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So I think that's the problem these days, truly. I mean, when I think about Ray, I think about, oh my God, what if I actually was part and engaging in his life, right? Oh. And not, I mean, because like I said, like before, he'd always call me for money, right? So I would always get irritated, like, oh, he's just always calling me for money. But I did the same thing,
Right.
Even though I wasn't calling him, or I was calling him asking him for favors, in return I'd pay him, it was still doing the same thing because
sure.
I was never calling to just check on him,
Right.
you know, and I would see him and he'd just look happy. You know, he was always such a bubbly person.
Yeah.
So I just never.
I guess it's harder to notice too when you grow up closer in age, right? For me and my siblings, I'm like a guardian to my younger siblings because I'm so much older to them than them. But when you grow up within a 5-6 year span of each other, or a 7 year span,
it's harder.
It's harder to notice, to recognize, because it's almost like when someone's trying to lose weight, you know, and because the other person spends time with them, they're like, do you notice anything?
Yeah,
it's like,
but you don't, because you're just,
because I see you every day. Like, of course I'm not going to see anything, the difference, right? Unless somebody who's never seen you, hasn't seen you in months, they come around like, hey man, you're looking good, like slimming down on your face there.
And I think that's exactly right. So I think because I saw Ray so often, because, you know, he was just Ray to me, you know, like there was nothing that really triggered me to think anything else.
For sure,
you know?
for sure.
But, there was a point where I knew his circle was kind of different. So I did question him about that, you know, but other than that, he never gave me the impression that there was anything else deeper than what he was, you know, what he said or anything. And Ray just had that, you believed him.
Yeah.
You know, like he just had that way of charming you, you know, and like you said, you feel like a guardian, right? Like I'm like that with my siblings. Like I'm the eldest of 6. And we do come from like a Brady Bunch of a family. I have a half siblings, step siblings. But growing up, I was the oldest of 6, and they were like my kids. You know, it's like you create this, I can't even explain it, you know, like losing Ray, even though I'm his sister, like he lived with me for a part of his life. Like I watched him grow. So at that same sense, it felt as if I kind of lost a child, you know? Of course, I can't even begin to relate to anything my mom is feeling, right? Like that's her son. But it was just protecting him throughout his entire life, and then coming to that point where like I just couldn't save him. Yeah. It's just like, how do you forgive yourself? You know, like, of course I know it's not my fault.
Right. You can't blame yourself.
You can't blame yourself, but it's like you can't, it's like you protected him from everything in life. God, all the troubles that kid ever got into, got him out of it, you know, whatever the case may be. And it's like the one person was himself. Right. I couldn't protect him from himself. Like, how do you deal with that? You know? So it's just like, I guess being a victim of it and being a sibling, like that's what I struggle with.
That's extremely powerful though.
With every day, it's like, God, I could protect him from you. You know, like I could, everything else. But it's like, you don't ever think like, how do you protect someone from themselves, you know?
Yeah. And I think it possibly can boil down to just what you've been talking about, you know, that simple sort of communication, right? And it's something that we do lack, going from the text messages to emails and stuff like that. Just simple phone calls. Man, that just the fact that it can make a world of difference.
It can. And aside from that, like aside from just trying to be present in the lives of the people you care about, it also comes down to our world is so full of such negative energy.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and social media, like I expressed at the first social, is such a powerful tool. And there's so much. In both ways. Yeah. And both ways, and it's so extreme. Mm-hmm. Like if it's negative, it is so negative. If it's positive, it's so positive, you know? And the sad thing about it is you have so many people looking in that you don't even realize who's watching, right? And people fail to realize that like your actions has an effect on the people that watch you, you know? And that's why with like our social movement, TUMA, you know, Talk Up Mental Health Awareness, like my goal is to make it as positive and effective as possible, because there's just far too much negative going on, you know? And I just feel that if people, like my brother, right, so loved, everyone loved him. And I just feel if you give positive affirmations to people and remind them about loving themselves, it can change your whole perspective on your life. Because I truly feel if my brother loved himself, really genuinely loved himself, I don't think he would have hurt himself this way. I think it was the lack of love for himself that resulted in this kind of tragedy.
For sure. You sent me that message, about giving a definition of self-love.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, easy. I'll send it to you in a moment. Right? Dude, that was my initial thought. I was like, oh, easy. Dude, and
because I think
still haven't texted you up to this day up to today because
it's hard.
It's fucking hard.
It's hard. I mean, you know, we were talking about self-care on our social media, and self-care is easy. I mean, and there's a huge difference. Self-care is just taking care of yourself, grooming,
eating the right things.
Yes, things like that, right? But self-love is an entirely different conversation.
Yeah.
I mean,
it doesn't even have to deal with the physical anymore.
It doesn't. You can self-care and not self-love.
Yeah.
Self-love is the whole emotion behind it.
Yeah, and I think that's what bodybuilders sort of go through. You know, they have that self-care, perfecting, but then they're trying to be so perfect that inside they become sort of emotional and depressed.
Exactly.
And stuff like that.
And you know, the exterior, you can do whatever you want in the exterior. But ultimately it's the inside that affects you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you can be looking at the most beautiful person, the most handsome man, but not knowing how they feel on the inside, you know? Like, you don't know. I mean, look at Ray. Funniest kid, you know, charismatic, like everything exterior, perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
But inside, who the fuck knew he was going through or battling all those demons?
Or even capable.
Whew. And that's why I express so much, like, suicide has no, it doesn't care who it attacks.
Doesn't discriminate
It doesn't
at
discriminate. Male, female, age. There's like, oh my God.
No.
High and low, you know.
Doesn't matter if you're 10 or it doesn't matter if you're 75.
Does not.
There's a dude, he was 104 and he chose that the best way he wants to go out is to euthanize himself.
What?
Yeah.
104?
I believe he was 104. You want to see if that was I think it was in London or something like that.
What?
Yeah. Oh, shoot.
That is crazy. Yeah.
104. And so, you know, it's... Hold up. There you go. Damn, it's on it today. Yeah, just zoom it in. David Goodall, 104, just took his own life after making a powerful statement about assisted death.
What?
Yeah, on his final day before he went to a Swiss clinic to die, David Goodall spoke about his 104 years of life and his scheduled death. I mean, it's a choice, no matter...
It is, and no
matter how old you are.
And that's the scary thing.
Yeah.
Is no one tells you to take your life. It's definitely a choice, right? But because I don't know, because I feel it's a mental illness, do you think that obviously clouds their judgment? I mean, now reading...
You can pull that down, bro.
Now reading something like that...
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, it doesn't cloud someone's judgment like that. I mean, 104 seems like he still has his head together.
To make a conscious decision.
Like that.
Yeah, it's a big question.
You know what I mean? Like, now you changed the conversation. And now you changed my perspective on everything that I kind of like, okay, this is how it is. You know? Thanks.
Sorry about that.
Great.
I just happened to see that article like last week too.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's real stuff.
And then
like we said, it doesn't discriminate.
Now reading something like that and seeing that, and like I said, you changing the conversation and seeing it in a perspective that way, something like that, like, do you agree that's even positive? Like, do you think people who struggle with the contemplation of taking their life, reading something like that, will that validate their decision? You know what I mean?
No, I don't think it brings validation. I think it's an individual thing.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't validate a reason for anyone else to do it.
But see, truthfully, like, something like that, like, pisses me off, because it's like, someone can read that and take it in the wrong context, right, you know, and just kind of be like, dude, this 104 guy did it, you know, like, I don't know. I'm just like,
I think what it is, I think there's a difference because, you know, he's 104.
He's like, I'm done.
Yeah, he's like, fuck, my legs don't work. Yeah, haven't had sex in like 30 years.
Oh my God. He's like, I don't know how much longer I can do this.
Can't even shower myself. What do you want me to do here?
Okay, that's a better perspective.
Right. So,
fuck you, Ray. You saw it all your life.
And it's and for me, Ray's death was a tragedy for me. When I first heard it, I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
I refused to believe it. That I even text messaged him when I heard it. And I think it's a different perspective for him when it's older, because he lived a full life.
Yeah, exactly.
And us knowing, and everybody who does know people who have taken their life at a young age, knows that how much more there is to live, right? And I think that's the hardest thing for me to cope with.
Yes. And I agree. To be honest, during Ray's death and the funeral and everything, like, I had to be the strong one in my family because we're such a close family.
And you absolutely
it was so hard. I mean, we're such a strong family. We're so close. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever imagined we would go through this. I mean, I dreamt of growing old with my siblings, our kids being raised together, just seeing each of them get married, things like that. And when it happened to Ray, like, planning his funeral was probably like the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Like, I've planned parties for the kid.
Hey, can you get some tissues, bro?
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I've planned parties for him. I've done fun things, and doing this was like, oh my God, an entirely different process. But God bless your mom, because she was a godsend during that whole situation. And she was just the sweetest thing. And thank you. But yeah, so his funeral, I was like, fuck you, brother. I will never be able to plan your wedding. Like, I'm fucking going all out. Like, flowers, everything, and everyone was like, why do you want to spend so much on flowers? Like, funerals are expensive. Yeah. I have never learned that until that process. But my mindset at that time was like, so over, like, I'm never fucking planning his wedding. Like, I want this, I want that, like, it was so emotional, and I like could not believe I was doing that.
Was it because this is what you knew all you had left?
I think that was my feeling, was just, when am I ever going to plan anything else for him? Like, I'll never be able to do that. And as hard as it was, like, I just wanted it to be beautiful. Right.
And it was. And, the showing of support of the people who came out, really showed the kind of person that he was.
It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I knew Ray was loved by so many, we would actually joke all the time. Like, he'd act like, I'd be like, whatever, so-and-so because I'm your older sister, like, come on. And then, vice versa. He'd be like, no. Like, I'm the cool one, like, just things like that. Ray and I are so similar, amongst the six of us. And it was just, I was overwhelmed by the support and love that, he received that day. And I was happy.
Yeah.
Happy, mad, kind of like, fuck, brother, if you wanted to get fucking everyone together, like, we could have just threw some fucking massive party. Like, didn't have to be like this. But yeah, he was definitely loved. Like, I think every other person who has taken their life, you put an effect on people that it's just like, people can't help but question.
For sure.
Unanswered questions.
Yeah. I think the I don't know, I don't want to use the wrong word, but I want to say the beautiful irony in all of it, was everything that you guys were able to come up with after his death.
Yes.
And when I was at the launch of the foundation at the coffee shop, I was like, holy cow, standing in line, and I was just it's like, damn.
Yeah, and
like, how is this so perfect? Why does everything seem perfect? From let's get muddy to never leave the mud. Yeah. And to Tuma.
Yeah. I'm not even kidding when I say that, like you say, the beautiful irony of all, but even in the process of figuring out what I wanted to do or what we wanted to do and how to bring it to the community, it was like everything aligned. And it aligned in a way that as if it was meant to be that way. You know, the launch of his birthday tees, right? We didn't pick the date in which it was to launch. The company could only print it that particular day, and it happened to fall on Ray's birthday.
Wow.
And then, you know, the social, same thing. We didn't pick that date. It was the date that best accommodated the coffee shop, and that particular date happened to be Ray's 5th month, you know, anniversary. Yeah. So it's like, it was just, there's so much meaning behind every single thing we're doing. Like, for example, our whole team is doing a mental health training, right, on the 23rd. Again, we couldn't pick that date, but the number 23 is special to us because that's how old Ray was when he passed. So it's just, I know it sounds
no, it's silly, not silly, you know, at all. But
it's just, it seems as if everything that our team has took part in, there's some relevance behind it in which we just feel his presence, or we feel he's always with us, you know, like never leaving the mud. Like, he's just somehow always there. I'll share a story with you real quick.
Okay.
Last night, we had our team meeting, right? We kind of we've been meeting like every 3 months. And I was waiting for everyone to come. My sister was like, hey, I'm here. Can you open the gate? Whatnot. So I opened the gate, put my phone down, and I get a call, and my phone rings, and that's what pops up. Right?
What?
I know. So here I'm freaking out. It says,
can you just put it on the camera there?
That here.
There.
Can you see that? So that's my brother, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I have his phone. It's not on. It's just in this little box that I have with all Ray's things. So I'm like, who the fuck has Ray's phone? Or like, you know, like my heart starts pounding. I have not seen that name pop up in my phone in like fucking 6 months. So I answered it. God. It happens to be my grandfather. So Ray used to use my papa's cell phone. And when he finally got his own number, I never put that old number under my grandfather. And my papa never calls me with his cell phone. But the power went out. He called to see if I had power, you know, which is why he had to use the cell phone. And I was just like, what the fuck? You know, like, what is going on? I like hung the phone, and I literally had an anxiety attack.
Did you?
I was crying so hard. My sister walked in, and she's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it was within like minutes of her. Like 2-3 minutes, you know, she's like, what happened? And it was just the reminder, like, dude, he's never gonna call me, you know, like, I'm never gonna see his name pop up on my phone and it being him.
But you know his presence is still there.
Yeah, obviously the fucker is like, you know what I mean? Like, just, I really
playing his practical jokes. I
really believe that the universe works in ways like that, you know. And it was yesterday, I was just having a really bad day. Like, I really missed him for some reason just yesterday, you know. Like, I mean, I missed him every day, but it was a hard day for me. And for some reason, like, every time I have hard days, things happen in which I feel it's him saying, dude, sis, stop. You know, like, I'm fucking always with you. Like, you know, Ray, like, he never liked people to be sad. He always had this way of making sure you were laughing or you were having a good time, you know. And days when I do get that sad and things happen, I just feel it's his way of being like, stop, you're crying, you know, like, get on with your day and da-da-da-da-da. And so, yeah, it happened. The day we're having a meeting too, and I was just like a hot mess. I'm like, I need a shot. I need to go get a shot right now.
Can someone buy a bottle of Crown Royal?
Seriously, I'm like, bring it over right now.
Wow, that's I don't even know what to say about that. Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
I told every single person that came last night. I was like, I know you guys are tired of the story, but I just gotta share what happened.
Yeah, I mean, and like I mentioned, you know, the beautiful irony in everything that's happening for you guys. It's okay. It's because it's a needed thing here.
Yes.
It's a very needed thing here. You sent me that statistic. Hey man, pull up that statistic. There's a statistic. There's a statistic. Yeah. That has Guam suicide rates. Yeah.
This was the 2017 data. So
I mean, just the fact that we are one of the highest in the nation per capita. On a place that supposedly is paradise, right?
And supposedly family oriented, so cultured, right? You know.
and we still run into issues of people killing. What's the website from?
This was actually sent to me through. I work a lot with this lady, Debbie Duenas. She's a special projects coordinator for the Peace Office. So she had just sent me stats and things like that.
Like infographics.
Yes. So what I sent you was she had sent it to me.
Well, when Brian pulls it up here, let's start.
But she also said that what do you call that? Chamorro men are kind of the highest amongst amongst Guam. It's usually Chamorro males.
And this is data that they've collected here.
Yes.
Is this Guam? Is this a
suicide in Guam? So it's Guam versus USA.
Yeah. So the infographic that Jesrae sent me, it's a Guam versus USA. So Guam is the 6th leading cause of death.
Suicide.
Suicide. Okay. Yes. 6th leading in cause of death. Highest amongst those from the ages of 30 to 39. Hanging predominant 81%. Chukis and other Asians have the highest rate.
She actually clarified that. She said Chukis, it says that, but she said it's because their population is smaller.
Okay.
But so technically it's still male Chamorros.
That means their ratio is higher because their population is smaller.
Yes, is smaller, yes. But isn't that insane?
Yeah. Guam's age-adjusted suicide rate is twice the USA rate. 27.4 to 100,000 versus 13. In Guam versus 13.4 to 100,000 in the USA. Guam's age-adjusted suicide rate is 4 times as high as the rate for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders living in the USA. 1 suicide death every 10 days.
Isn't that insane?
It's insane.
And speaking of that, the day that...
It's okay, man. You don't have to bring anything up. We got the stats. I don't think you can find this infographic on the internet. It's
not your fault, Brian.
It's a special infographic.
I know. Secret.
No, I wasn't prepared.
But it also says here in 2017, the youngest suicide was 11. 11 years old. What were you doing at 11 when you were 11? Seriously.
Waiting for Monday Night Raw to come on.
Oh my God, same here.
And Sunday Night Heat.
I was so in love with that.
And Thursday Night SmackDown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, like we said, it doesn't matter. 10 to 104. It's
and 78, the oldest.
Yeah, the ones that we hear in the news isn't everything. It's.
And what's crazy that is when Ray took his life and we were in the ambulance and stuff, the responders actually told us that every single week on this island, they are called to assist in attempted suicide. Not all are successful, but every single week. Like, how do you accept that?
Yeah.
Like, how do you live on this island and accept that every single week?
We don't have to accept it.
I don't.
Right.
I don't, which is why I want to be a voice and advocate in making change. Yeah. And to be quite honest, it needs to go further past awareness. There's been way too much awareness going on. People, all these other organizations that have been
you can throw as many 5Ks and parties as you want.
You want. But obviously just raising awareness is not making a change.
Right. So
the question is, what else can we do to make that change? Because obviously raising awareness isn't doing it. Right. And so that's my whole goal and objective with Tuma is figuring out a way to break the stigma and create change. Yeah. People like to say,
you want to write under your eye.
Oh my God. Right, now you tell me.
Sorry.
See that? No, but people tell me all the time, like, monies go to help cure cancer. Money goes to help kids with disability. Those are all great causes. But why not put money into helping people that have mental issues? Maybe
because as a society, it's frowned upon.
So let's change that,
Yeah.
because you shouldn't frown upon it.
Right.
It's real lives. You're losing real lives. The same way you lose someone who has a terminal illness or a disability. Like, these are still human people,
Yeah.
you know, and don't they deserve the same amount of care as you give someone else who obviously, I mean, I don't think they asked to have a mental illness either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's actually, what is the word? Hereditary. Sometimes it's genetics that you actually are bipolar or, you know, suffer from all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's bothering you.
No,
but
no.
Take it off.
No. I have to look at your eyes.
But you're like,
Either way. So
come on, guys. Stop making me cry.
No, I mean, I'm trying not to.
But, and you know, like, I was reading all this stuff, and I came across this really catchy article, you know, and it was about stopping the stigma, and it's like, a stigma-free me becomes a stigma-free we. You know, so it's kind of like goes into saying it starts with you, and then you eventually break the ice to make it everyone else, you know. So
I mean, I think it even goes down to just getting simple therapy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that whole embarrassment. People don't want to say, I go to therapy.
Yeah.
No, because what, you need help with your life?
Yeah.
Fuck, everybody needs help with their lives. But not everybody is fortunate enough to have somebody there to talk to every day and all the time. So sometimes you need that sort of outside support from someone you don't know, who
and I think
who's licensed not to tell anybody.
Yeah,
like,
or
licensed to keep secrets, right?
Exactly.
So.
Or who's licensed and entirely out of the box. You know, like, for example,
right.
if Ray was to talk to me, and granted that he did talk to me about certain issues, like I said, I was never under the impression he had deeper demons than what he shared. Being an older sister, mama figure, you know, I'm very hard, you know, like I won't baby you just to baby you. I'll put you in your place if I feel like you're being lazy or you're being, you know, whatever. So I think that sometimes when you talk to someone who isn't as close, you're guided in a different direction, and you're a bit more, I guess, sensitive, right, to certain subjects, right? Because being emotionally connected, you can kind of be hard on a person. Yeah. You know, and
that's very true.
Not have the whole sense
or even make it easier to brush something off.
Yes, like, exactly.
Like, oh man, I want to talk to you about something. Dude, let's not talk about that right now. Come on.
Yeah.
You
know, or just be
there's
like,
a time and place for these things. Man.
Or like, this shit again?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's just natural for us to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
you know?
fuck, now that you say it, you know, it's, when that whole this shit again, it's, we expect people to get over it after our first token of advice. Well, here's some advice. Do what you will with it. Don't come back to me again. If you do, I'm gonna get annoyed.
Exactly. And we all have that one friend.
Right.
We all have that one friend that constantly comes for advice, and then you give it and they don't follow it. Then they come again, and then you're just like. So last week, remember what I said last week? It's not going to change this week. It's the exact same thing.
Do that same thing. I have a friend like that. Back in college, you know, it was always like, yo, bro, you know, this and that. I'm just like, all right, do this, and then they would do this exact opposite. I'm like, it's like, dude, I'm not gonna be mad because you didn't want to take my advice.
Yeah, I'm annoyed, but I'm not mad. You know, so.
Just don't ask me this week. Wait till next week.
I know,
so
right?
I can give you the same shit that I've.
So funny. You know, the same shit, different day. That's exactly what you're doing. Okay.
And maybe that's the mindset that we need to take ourselves out of, right? Just to be more empathetic to the fact that same shit, different day, but there's people who battle the same shit all their lives, every minute of the day.
Yeah, and you know, like. Sometimes, or like, you know, I after experiencing all this, like, I'm definitely a lot more sensitive, you know, to people who have different depression issues, right? Before I was impatient and just would get annoyed, right? Like, God, I fucking gave you advice. Like, you didn't follow it, you know, that's why you're here, you know, blah, blah. But at the same sense, like, you don't ever want to push those people away, you know, like, you don't ever want them to feel like, okay, I'm just a burden on her, you know, so I just won't talk to her anymore. And then what happens is you silence that person, they bottle things up, and then what happens next, you know? So I mean, it's a lot of work, you know, but I think if people are just kinder, more sensitive, you know, it you could possibly save lives, you know?
Yeah, just being a nice person to not just only the people
you
that
know,
you know.
just people in general.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's another problem is people just aren't nice. Like, okay, I know not everybody likes their job, right? Sometimes they do it just to make money. Like, it's fine. But okay, Shell gas station. I fucking love Shell gas station right here in what is it? Near Lupang?
Yeah, the East
or across
Agana.
Ralphie, East Agana.
Yeah.
Dude, they are the happiest gas pumpers on this freaking island. Like, I love them so much. Like, I'll go there and it just makes your day. Like, they'll say, thank you so much. Have a shell-tastic day. Like, how can you not smile at that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and it's like, you have people who complain about whatever. Like, dude, this guy is in the heat, like, pumping your gas and still so happy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, there's no excuse for people to be freaking rude,
Yeah.
you know? Like, or like what I love, and I do it all the time, is if someone has a name tag, call them by their name. You would freak out
Man, dude,
at how many
I actually
people.
love doing that too.
I love it. Like, I go to the grocery store, they're like, you know, the cashiers, whatever, they bag them. I'm like, thank you so much, you know, boo, have a great day.
Yeah.
They'll like look at you like, do I know you? You know, because they forget they have a name tag.
You have a name tag.
You know, but it's like, just be personal with people, you know?
One
like,
time I was messing with someone at Kmart and the cash register, they don't actually have names. They
Okay.
have numbers.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, thank you, inmate 001694319.
No, you did not.
She was like, I was like, I'm just joking.
Oh my-
I wanted to say your name, but you have numbers on your name tag. So she started laughing. Well, at least she laughed about it.
See, exactly. You know, and it's like, I tell people that all the time, the littlest things,
Yeah.
you know? I mean,
even as simple as telling someone, have a wonderful day.
exactly.
You know?
And that's
Even
why-
if they don't, even if they look like they're not having the best day
No.
and they're giving you attitude,
Be nice.
yeah, fire doesn't
Two
feed
wrongs
fire.
don't make a right.
Right.
You know, and it's that same thing. Kindness is free.
Right.
You know, you don't need to pay someone to be kind. Just be kind. And like you said, they're not being nice to you. You never know. You being kind to them could change their perspective, or just they'd be like, fuck, I'm being such a bitch today. You know, like, let me, you know, brush it off kind of thing, and then change my attitude.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I totally, I mean, I've always been like that, you know, and it's like, I just feel like if you continuously reiterate people to be positive in that way,
Yeah.
any little thing helps.
Yeah.
You know?
I brought up this story. This happened maybe in October or November last year. And I brought it up on the podcast before. I was walking my dog. I walked my dog around Agana, and we're coming to the police station. And there was a guy sitting there on the curb.
Okay.
Right? And he kept looking at me. He kept looking at my dog. And I was just like, all right, right, you're being weird, dude. You
Yeah,
know, like,
yeah.
All right, just keep walking. Just keep walking. And he goes, hey, man, what kind of dog do you have? I was like, oh, he's a pit bull. You know, I was telling him about him. And he goes, can I pet him? And I was like, hesitant at first,
Yes.
right? And I was just like, yeah, sure, man. You know, like, I don't see what's wrong with that.
Yeah.
So he starts petting him. And well, as he's petting him, he's like really like just really like petting him like he needed love, right? And he was just like sniffling. And I was like,
Aw.
hey, man, you know, is everything cool with you?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, you know, I just got out of jail right now, and you know, my mom won't pick me up, and I was having an affair, you know, with another girl, my wife, and this and that, and I just have nothing. I feel like nothing's left for me right now.
Yeah.
I was like, I felt like at that moment I needed to say something to him. I don't usually say stuff
Yes.
to people,
Yes.
you know, as far as like, you know, there's a brighter
Yes.
there's a brighter light down the road, you know.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, I was like, what really makes you happy?
Yeah.
You know, is it your girlfriend? Is it the drugs?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I said, what you really need to find right now in this moment because you're such in a dark place,
Yes.
is find your true happiness.
Yes.
Don't go to your mom. Don't go to your girlfriend. Don't go to your wife who you want back. Don't go to the drugs.
Yes.
Most especially don't go
Yes.
to the drugs to figure out what you really want to be truly happy
Mm-hmm.
about and what really truly makes you happy. And safe to say, you know, I mean, he really, like, he started crying like more and more, and I left that feeling like I did something good
And you did.
in my heart, you know,
Because most people, again, stigma, right, would encounter a situation like that and just totally walk away.
yeah,
you know,
but I totally went from being apprehensive and
Yes.
hesitant to being
which is normal, natural.
right,
you
right.
know? And
And
like you said, that one conversation, I'm pretty sure affected him, you know, in a positive
shit,
way.
I hope so.
You know, and if it did or didn't, you did your part.
Yeah.
You know, which is all I think we need to do as a community, is just do your part, whether big or small. Just do your part. And it's so funny that you bring up that story about what makes you happy, because I think that's the underlying question that everybody should ask themselves. Even someone like me who's married with kids, you know, like, no one is always happy. Everyone has their struggles, you know? And it's crazy because 2 weeks prior to Ray taking his life, he called my phone. It was a Sunday, and we were at my house. My sister, we did like a little baby shower for her, and Ray was there. I had no idea he left. He like totally pulled a ninja.
Mm-hmm.
So he's calling my phone, and I'm like, what? So I answer, and he's like, hey, can you come outside? And I'm like, aren't you here? You know, so confused. And then he's like, no, I left, but came back, but can you come outside? And I was like, come in, you know, like, why do I have to go outside? I was kind of giving him a hard time. And I ended up coming outside, and it was odd because he didn't pull into my driveway. I live in Nimitz, so he parked across my house, and across my house is like it's an overlook, right?
Okay.
So he was like on the grass area. So I'm like, what is going on? So I walk out, and he happened to get out of his truck, and he just starts crying. Like, I don't remember a time that I have ever seen my brother in that much pain. Like, he was so sad, and he was crying, and he was, you know, expressing about a relationship he was in, and how he was just broken, and he didn't know what to do and everything. And in that moment, that was my same question to him, was, brother, what makes you happy? Don't mind everybody else's lives. Don't worry about the girl. Don't worry about anyone else. What makes you happy? What do you want in your life? You know? And I swear to God, we had the best conversation that day, you know? And I told him, I was like, I'm here for you. I will help you get through this hurdle, you know, like, you just need to do you.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you can't worry about making other people happy if you're not happy with yourself.
Right.
You know? And so it was one of those things where it was just crazy how you brought that up, like, what makes you happy? Because that was like the last question I had asked him, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like you feel like you know, but really, how many people really know what makes them happy?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that people...
No, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
No.
I feel that, like, you really have to be happy with yourself in order to even be happy in a relationship or be happy in your workspace or anywhere.
Truly, I'm truly with you on that. I think that in order to absolutely love another, you have to love.
And I am with you on that.
And there's so many people who love others that don't love themselves.
Exactly.
And they give so much of their love to others.
They don't leave any for them.
They don't leave any.
And that's
for
like
themselves,
Ray.
yeah.
You know, I mean, I can't speak on behalf of other lives that we've lost, right? But because we know Ray, we know how much he can give. We know the kind of person he was. Why people loved him so much. What could have possibly been the result of what he did other than the fact that he didn't love himself?
Yeah.
You know? And then, of course, like, there's the whole, like, oh, there's this girl involved. But I don't think it's not no one's fault. Like you said, it was a choice, and it's an action that he decided to take upon himself. And I don't think that anyone really made him do what he do. It was more like, I try to think about it, right? Like, okay, if I was my brother, why would I do this, right? Like, why would I just think of taking my life? And so sitting in Ray's room, I'm sitting there like trying to think like, if I was Ray, why would I do this? And the only logical explanation is, okay, I look at my sister Jesrae. She's married. She has kids. She has her life. I look at my other sister. She's married with kids. I look at my other sister. She has a family. I look at my other sister. She has, it's like, then he evaluates himself, right? Like his baby brother has a family. Then he looks at himself and he's kind of like, what do I have?
Yeah.
What do I have? But at the same sense, like it goes down to self-love. Because you don't need to be with anyone. You don't need someone to validate your life. Yeah. You need to validate it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's so true. I mean, even I think social media does not do us justice in looking for self-validation, because we're looking for validation in other people's lives of what we perceive it is.
Exactly. And even on my personal Instagram, I write novels. I just love to write. I don't write to be grammatically correct. I write how I feel, and I tell everyone, I'm not the perfect wife. I'm not the perfect mom. I don't post these things to portray that. I post these things to give you motivation. But in every post that I do, I write a story. There's a story behind everything. I don't just post it to show off what I'm wearing, or what my kids are wearing. Like if you take time to read it, you'll see how there's a connection to everything, and the same thing goes back to self-love and being happy with yourself. After Ray died, I was a wreck. I was an emotional wreck. I couldn't even function as a wife. I couldn't function as a mom. I would cry all the time. I'd give my husband shit, and it was one of those things I was battling, like, how do you move on? How am I supposed to be happy knowing that I lost my brother? And then everyone was like, you got to be strong for your kids. You got to be strong, for yourself and this and that. But it's the hardest thing emotionally to go through. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was so hard. Like I even like one day told my husband, like I was crying so bad, and I was like, I need help. I need professional help. I am so depressed. Like I'm tired of fighting with you. I'm tired of giving you attitude. I'm tired of being like rude to the kids. And it's just like, it was one of those things where like, I told him, I was like, maybe I need to see someone, maybe I need to go off island and just have like, clarification and just like heal myself inside. Right. And then it was just one of those things where, he just kind of told me, he's like, whatever you need to do. He's like, why don't you start doing things for yourself again? Going back to work out, eating better, because like when I was depressed, I was just eating what I wanted, didn't care about working out, would cry, would, do normal depressed things, Like, I don't know. And so
I know what you're saying.
Like so
sleep all the time.
I just want to sleep all the time.
Chow.
Exactly. Go back to sleep. Like, can I freaking hire a babysitter 24/7? Yeah, no, seriously. I never would go to sleep drinking, and since Ray died, like at that time I was super depressed. I would just drown myself in alcohol to sleep. And it's just like one of those things because I wanted to numb myself from the reality of it all. I mean, Ray took his life on Halloween. You had Thanksgiving. You had Christmas. It was like every single special occasion possible that Ray was part of. All of a sudden, we're supposed to be okay that he's not here for it. Yeah. And I think that in that people who contemplate this, like what they should realize is that you think you're taking away pain, but what you fail to realize is you leave pain behind, and you leave pain that will never go away. Never. This pain that I have from losing Ray, I'll never ever get rid of it. It has scarred me for life. I'll have good days, I'll have bad days, but it will always exist. So it's kind of like they don't see that. They don't realize that. Like you feel like you're taking away your pain in that moment, but you leave behind pain with the ones who love you. Yeah. Sorry, I feel like I kind of like.
No, that was.
To Steve Oshiro.
you channeled your Steve.
I channeled my the beast kind of came out,
But everything you're saying is absolutely right.
So.
Right, and it's I've never experienced like a personal death like that, you know, in
Neither
that
have I.
fashion, right? And the closest thing is aunts or uncles that
Yes.
and grandmothers and
Yes.
grandfathers, you know. It's like
Never. At least in our family. I mean, thankfully still have our grandparents around, you know, but that was the first in our family that really hit close to home,
yeah.
you know. And
Do you think we'll ever break out of that stigma of not wanting to talk about death in that way?
I'm gonna make sure it happens. Because I don't think it's not fair to them,
Yeah.
you know. And I don't mean to.
Despite the circumstance that they
Yeah.
caused, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't.
'cause
It shouldn't be an eternal
No.
damnation.
No, and
No.
it's far beyond religious beliefs. It's far beyond cultural beliefs, you know, like, and I just don't, I want to help people, you know. I want to help the people who mentally struggle with this. And to be very honest with you, with our whole LGM account, you know, and us talking it up on social media and this whole social movement, it's just about having a conversation. And you would be surprised at how many people actually engage in speaking with us, you know. And it's like, I feel
Like DMs and stuff like that.
DMs. I mean,
imagine.
so many people have written and expressed how they've thought about this at one point, or they've currently battled depression and, you know, things like that. And sometimes people prefer talking behind a screen, you know, and that's fine, you know. But if you can let it out, and we can, I mean, people know we're not professionals. I express that all the time. Like, we're not professionals. We're just humans who kind of go through day-to-day struggles, you know. We can provide a listening ear and you know, whatnot. But if you need professional help, like, I can definitely route you the right way,
Yeah.
you know. But our movement is really hitting home for a lot of people, and I'm very proud of that, and proud of what we're doing. And my ultimate goal is to stop this stigma, and for people to just be okay talking about it, and not
Do a podcast
brushing.
for us.
Nope, just with you. Nope. I'll just come on there anytime I need to unleash the beast, okay? Like, no, I'm fine typing. Here we go again. Now you're being contradictive, Jesrae, talking about it's impersonal to text, and, you know, but yeah.
I mean, I feel like podcast is the most. It's an easy way to get the information you want out.
It is, yeah.
And I feel like you're sitting on the realms of it. You know?
And we'll just come to you when we need to talk.
Okay, I appreciate
Like,
that.
boo, we gotta talk it up on the podcast. Okay? So let's schedule another session, okay? But yeah, that's, you know, that is definitely the light amongst all this sadness, and you know.
For sure. It's important that we do talk about it. I've seen people not even want to talk about death in general.
Yes.
You know? Just the reality of death.
Yep.
And to get more specific of now suicide. I mean, yeah, I understand that it's been a part of our culture for many years, just to be like, hey, you know, don't talk about that.
Yes.
But it's very important that we do,
is.
because you don't know the next person. It can be a close friend to a person you know, or the person you know, and you would have never known because you said don't talk about it, so they never wanted to talk
Or
about it.
and you even saying don't talk about it, that's negative, right? So someone who's already negative doesn't need more negative. So it's kind of like one of those things where, like, when I say I want to talk about it and I want to bring light to the situation, I don't mean the negative part of it. I don't mean you don't need to get into detail on how someone did it,
Right,
you know,
right.
or, you know, whatever. It's like trying to prevent it, right? Like, that's what I want to talk about, is this has happened way too often in our community. How do you not see that? But then again, I never saw it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there you go, contradicting yourself, you know? Like,
No, but
it's just
it's not that you're contradicting yourself. It's that it took something like this for you to actually see it.
or even want to be part of
Right.
it, you know. But it, to me, like, knowing stats and knowing all how often it happens, why didn't I know about it before? why did it take me losing, you know what I mean?
I think there's just so much to know about, you know, that we choose to filter what we really want to know. Right?
Yes.
I mean, if you want to go learn about something, you open up Google, you Google it, and
or you ask Alexa or
yeah,
Siri.
yeah, and it's there. The information is there, and so there's no reason to want to know about other things unless you have a direct effect or connection.
True. Or unless it's the in thing, or it's hyped.
Right.
No, but you're right. If it's no.
So you can't blame yourself. You can't even tell yourself you're being contradictory.
Yeah.
Because
And I think you're right, because I think a part of me felt guilt, right? Like, oh, now I want to make a change.
All of a sudden?
Yeah. And I did battle that, you know, and it was just one of those things where, again, like I'm not here to disrespect any of the existing organizations. I'm here to work alongside them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about competition or competing. It's empowering each other.
Yeah.
You know, like, more heads are better than one. You know, let's put our heads together and figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, and my whole intent was, because I believe social media is just so powerful, use it in a positive way and just start the conversation. You know, because there's power in conversation.
So much power.
Yep. But it's not the easiest to start a conversation. You know, there's power in it, but not everybody wants to start the conversation, right? So once you get the conversation started, you know, like I told you, I was so nervous to be here.
And I
you
told
start
you.
talking, and I'm like, hey, this is easy, you know? Nothing. So it's, you know, the power in conversation. And our hope is to just influence it in a positive way. And
yeah, that's all we can do. I mean, you're not going to stop them all, right?
No.
But the people that you can, that makes a world of difference.
It does. It really does. And simple messages like, thank you for posting this, it made my day, or I needed to see this, like, those are different. Those simple one worded or one line messages, you never know. It could have made a difference in that person's life.
Right. They could have been on their way.
And you saved them, whether it's one extra day, you know, whatever. You did something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. They could have been on their way, and then they're scrolling through social media, and then boom, all of a sudden,
Exactly.
they're like, oh, shit, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is the whole intent of, you know, Tuma.
Tuma. I think it's perfect. How long have we been going here, man?
Just right over an hour.
Dang, Steve, I'm
Told
catching
you.
up to you. I like this. No editing. No, but real quick, just to get on Tuma, for those who don't know.
Yeah. Explain it in detail.
Yeah, so Tuma, I came up with Tuma as, it's a nickname, right, that I had expressed my son gave Ray. And all our nieces and nephews just kind of call Ray Uncle Tuma. And so I knew in my heart that, I'm going to backtrack real quick. LGM, which is Let's Get Muddy, Never Leave the Mud, was actually something Ray created. So when Ray was alive, he always dreamt of having a t-shirt line called Let's Get Muddy. I remember he came to my house this one day and he was talking to me about it, you know, this and that, like, will you invest? Like, invest in what? What is this? You know? And it's just like, you know, if you know Ray, he doesn't come with any numbers or anything. He's just straight up like, sis, I want to do like this t-shirt line, you know? And I'm like, what the fuck is Let's Get Muddy? Like, I didn't understand it, you know? And at the time, I really just disregarded what he wanted. It was just, he never said it had a meaning, which to this day, we don't give it a meaning. Like, Ray said it meant whatever you want it to mean, you know? And it was just, because I didn't give him the time of day back then, I kind of felt like people knew him always saying that, like, let's get muddy, you know, Mr. Muddy, you know, like things like that. And so keeping that alive to me is like keeping his spirit alive, right? And so, you know, I brought all his close friends together this one day, and I had a talk with them, and I'm like, you know, I'm willing to do this, right? Like, I'm willing to create something that keeps his spirit alive, but it's not mine to do, right? Like, I have so much more respect for my brother and his friends that I want them part of it. You know, I was like, I'm not going to come here and just take take this and
Thank you.
you're welcome, and bring it to life as if it was mine.
Yeah.
And so I brought them together and I was like, are you guys willing to do this? And they were and stuff. And I just told them, I was like, I have rules though, like it's going to be a products with the cause-based brand, monies to benefit certain charities, things like that. And it has to be positive. I don't want it to be a label that, again, stigma or people are afraid to use. I was like, I want someone as business savvy as my husband to feel comfortable wearing it. Someone like my kids comfortable wearing it, so it has to be a very positive, influential brand, so that was how LGM came about, right? Tuma was always something on the side that I knew I wanted to do more of, like the charity side of it all, right? LGM is more, to me, fun, right? It's the fun part of it. And then Tuma, I was just like, I want it to be Tuma, like something related to Tuma, because our kids are so young. They still don't understand what had happened to Ray. And I don't ever want them to forget Ray. I don't ever want them to grow up forgetting about Uncle Tuma. So to me, creating this is basically, again, keeping his spirit alive in the way they knew him. And so this one day I was just like going back and forth, like, what can Tuma mean though? I can't just call it Tuma was named after Ray kind of thing. I mean, I could, but I wanted it to have more meaning. And this one day I woke up and I was just like, oh my God, talk up mental health awareness.
Yeah.
And it all came together and I was just like, that's it.
Yeah.
That is going to be our name.
And there's a significance in the semicolon, right?
Yes. So as I was doing like more research and learning more about suicide and things like that, I came across this semicolon campaign. And it was actually Selena Gomez, like it sparked up on her social media, and I read more into it. And basically a semicolon in writing represents a pause, right? So technically that sentence doesn't end, it just brings it to a pause. And so the significance when it deals with suicide prevention is, you don't need to end your sentence. You don't need to end your life, just take a pause amongst the chaos, and reevaluate, reset, regroup, and continue moving forward. So I felt that the semicolon definitely related to everything, which is why I put it into the logo of our whole campaign.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, beautiful irony.
Works out. Tuma, Ray still got his LGM somewhere there.
You got what you wanted in the end,
I know, Ray. Now, God, gonna launch this line, and but the beautiful irony to it all too, and it's sad, but I've always wanted to do something. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and being a stay-at-home mom, I have my self-love struggles, right?
For sure.
I battle with, God, I see all my friends getting like all these like amazing promotions or just being recognized in their careers, and I battle the whole issue of, oh my God, I'm just stuck with kids all day, like I don't get to socialize and build a career, at least yet, right? Like
at least in an office space,
in
right?
an office space, yes.
Where you have coworkers,
where I have coworkers, or I have adults talking to me, or just like, good job, Jess, like. My kids are just, Mom, can you make me this? Like, Mom, I spilled the milk here, things like that.
I need somebody to wipe my butt.
No, seriously, I'm like, damn shit. No, but you struggle with that. And so I've always been in and out of wanting to do something aside from just being a stay-at-home mom, something I can do for my self-fulfillment, right? Even though being a mom and being able to raise my children is definitely the most rewarding job in the world, I still have my struggles. And so I've always talked to Ray about just different things I wanted to do, right? Like, oh, brother, what if we brought in this store and like you can help me run it, or, da-da-da-da-da. But I just never went through with it. And so through Ray's death and me wanting to do this foundation and this clothing line, I have the greatest motivation ever, and it's like I'm just so passionate and so motivated to make it happen that I'm finally doing something for myself too.
Right.
And it's like,
and it's bringing you self-satisfaction.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's like really, you know, it's like all those little things I talked to him about, I could have done with him, you know, but it took for him not to be here for me to just be so inspired and really going out there and making shit happen, you know. So it's just another twist to the beautiful irony.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the theme of this podcast.
It is beautiful irony. But I mean, you know. But anything else you?
I wanted to bring. No. There was something I wanted to say. It totally left me though. I was just letting you finish your.
Sorry.
No. I was letting you finish your thought, and it left my brain. Oh my god, what's going on with me?
Jesrae.
But all in all, I feel like we've accomplished something here.
I agree.
You know, we're talking about it on a platform that people can listen,
yes,
and download and all this, and that's why I said do a podcast, just because it's the easiest way to get information out to people.
Yeah, and that's why I said we have you.
Yeah,
so we will.
I'm glad you're using me as an outlet. You know, it's.
But it is because we all, like I said, like we all have to remember that you don't take into consideration how many people follow you, right? Or you don't really pay attention to your audience, right? You know people follow you, but you can't say you know every single person.
Yeah.
So we do have a platform, and I commend you for using your platform in such a positive way.
Thank you.
You know, your podcasts they're all different, and I love it, you know, and like I expressed to you today when I got here, I'm like, oh my God, you don't edit, you know, like, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to really be careful what I say, because everything is just raw and real, you know, but that is definitely the beauty of your program.
Thank you.
You know, and being a listener and now being part of it, like, I just have so much appreciation for the awareness and just the education that you bring, you know, to your listeners and stuff. And so definitely like keep
I mean, I learn
work, and
I learn every time, you know, every person that comes on, and I've almost found a sense of purpose. I mean, I said on the last podcast, like a couple years ago, I've only realized that everything I need to do in this life needs to happen here.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
This is the most important place to me, not anywhere else.
Yes.
I can go and do work anywhere else in the world, but it would have no purpose.
Yes.
It would serve no purpose.
Yes.
But if I'm doing something here to help the people here who call this place home and live here and struggle the same struggles we struggle every day, that brings more purpose.
And you know what's crazy that you bring that up too is I really think I was born to be like, I just love doing social work. You know, I love, oh my God, my husband always tells me I'm such a, like I can watch something on TV and it say like, donate here to da-da-da. And I'm like on my phone, like wanting to donate, right? And
already
he's just
texting
like,
05558.
And he's like, Jez, you know, and like part of like me struggling with like self-love and stuff. I'm like, babe, let me work for your company. Like I'll just do like the you know, when they ask for monies, right? Like I'll do the charity part. And he's like, I would have no more money because you would not be able to turn down anyone. He's like, you would just give it all, you know? And I just truly have a heart for people, you know? Like I went from knowing how it is to struggle, right? Grow up and struggle and stuff like that. And the life I live today, I'm very fortunate, but I don't ever take advantage. You know, I'm very blessed and I know that. And in return, like if I can give, I will definitely, you know, I love to give. And so I would always ask him like, oh my God, you want to travel here and, you know, like do like a mission here and this and that. And not that he's against it, but he's like you, he's a firm believer in we have the same issues here in Guam.
Yeah.
You want to make a difference and you want to make a change, start at your home.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to travel anywhere else to try to feel like you fulfilled something by helping those people. Not to say that you shouldn't help them,
right.
But in his defense, it's the same same concept that you just said. It's why not help home first, help your people first, and then give help elsewhere.
And see how far you can extend those arms.
Exactly. So I've heard it all. from him, and it's great to hear, you know, that you have that similar view. And he's definitely opened up my eyes in seeing, you know, helping our community first should always be number one.
Yeah,
you know,
I think in today's world too, a lot of us are finding that sense of we need to do it here first.
We do.
Here first. Here first. I bring up the diaspora from Guam all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And I know businessmen today are still trying to figure out how to keep people here.
Yep.
Whether it be for economic reasons, social reasons, or political reasons.
Yes.
It's like, how do you keep people here?
How do
Because
you?
people are leaving. And when they
And it's
leave,
sad.
it no longer matters what goes on here to them.
To them.
I mean, okay, sorry if you live out there. And
No,
we're
not in a negative
saying-
way. Sorry. Yeah.
Not
it's-
like completely, but it's just the way it is when you leave. When I left,
Yeah.
gave two shits, you know, like, yeah,
I was
the
the
people
same.
the people that mattered to me here, yeah, I call them and stuff like that, but the issues that were going on, I was more involved with the issues that were going
out
on in
there.
the States.
Exactly. I mean, I didn't go to I went to high school 1 year at Academy here, then, but I moved to San Diego.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I graduated in San Diego.
Shit, I didn't even realize that.
So I imagine at that age level,
Uh-huh.
right? I was out there already. You know, the experience I had out there was beyond what I would have ever experienced here in Guam. So as a high schooler, I had that same mentality. I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah,
You know,
look I mean, that's why I'm out here. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, you know, I was out there for like 4 years before I came back home, one Christmas break, and you can't help but fall back in love with home,
Right.
you know? And, you know, it was that Christmas, I was like, I don't want to leave. You know, I freaking went back. I just left college, like didn't even tell anyone, literally left my apartment, freaking flew back home. Nobody knew. I was such a rebel. And yeah, I never left since. But it was like one of those things where like living out there, you get so conformed right into
that society.
that
Right.
culture.
Right.
You just kind of forget, you know, how it is to live in our culture. And yeah, I just took that one Christmas back home where I was just like, home is home. Like,
But even
know?
even at that, when we do move home, like we said earlier, we're still blinded by a lot of the things that are actually going on.
exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, we can talk all the issues, you know, but it's really up to the individuals, right? Each and every one of us three sitting in this room, and everybody in this island to really sort of look back and reflect.
Yes.
I think a big problem for a lot of youngsters. Oh, I mean, I'm 30, so I can say youngsters. Right?
Same here. Same here. Damn millennials.
Yeah. Is that too soon they start giving up on the fact that maybe they failed at something and that there's no more purpose, and that possibly there's no what's the word I'm looking for?
Hope, reason.
Yeah, I don't even want to say hope. I guess I'm just saying, like, in life, right? Oh my gosh, what is the word? Think of it. Anyways, yeah, for young people, once things go bad, they think that's it. You know? And
Okay.
they don't realize that failure is, man, in the last podcast, Jimmy said,
Excuse me.
that's what schools had failed us at.
Yeah.
Is that they don't allow failure, so that when you fail in real life, and when a lot of us who are young fail in real life, we're like, shit, that's it.
Yeah.
Fuck.
You know,
Man, you know what? That's it. I have nothing else.
Yeah. And I'm so happy you bring that up, because that in this whole situation, that's so important to think of or to talk about, because a lot of kids these days, like you said, they don't know how to fail, but they don't know how to handle pain. They feel pain and they think the world is over. They do not know how to handle that pain. So they resort to doing alcohol, they resort to drugs, not realizing that that's only a temporary fix. So once you come off of that high, the pain is still there. But in their mind, it seems 10 times greater than what it actually is, you know? And I feel that, at least in our generation, right? Like, I mean, I've dealt with pain. I'm sure you've dealt with pain. Like, it didn't seem that bad. You know, like at least for me growing up, I had, you know, my friends who kind of like helped me through stuff or whatnot.
Well, because we weren't seeing other people's lives on a daily basis.
True.
You know?
True.
Like, why is that guy happy?
True. That is so true. Yeah.
And shit, I guess it all relates, right, from the last podcast. Bill Murray, right?
Yeah.
It's what do you say? Social media was meant to empower us, but it's caused us to compare ourselves to each other.
I think that's right. And I think in the whole mix of things, whenever I think about stuff, I feel to remember, you know, how we grew up. We didn't have this stuff, you know, and then just the impact it does have on a lot of these kids. And then it stems, like, there are so many factors prior to someone taking their life.
Yeah,
you know?
but also before you continue on, we cannot say that suicide wasn't prevalent before social media. Let's look at that stat again.
Yes.
There's a graph, and even they have back to 2000, right?
Yep.
20 deaths per year per 100,000 people. Yep. You know, and it's always been there. We're just more aware of it now.
To Governor Bradalio, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, his cause of death too. I mean, so I just think like the way the generations are forming these days, it's so, I mean, I'm so scared for my children, you know, because it's just, I was interviewed by 7th graders and the questions they were asking me was just insane.
Like, I wasn't thinking about that in 7th grade. Yeah.
You guys are how old? I know I'm not that old, but when I was 7th grade, I don't even think I would have known these questions to ask, you know, but it just shows how aware these kids are, you know, of thoughts of suicide and it all stems from bullying, not feeling accepted. You know, it's all these little things that lead to that bigger picture, you know, or that end result of tragedy, you know, and most of the time it's the feeling of not being wanted, or having that void, you know,
that sense of being alone, maybe.
Yeah. And so, like, you know, meeting with these 7th graders, talking to 8th graders, it's like I constantly reiterate kindness. You know, like you cannot follow that path or that circle of being the mean girl, being the mean guy, like, you know. And I think a lot of times today people are scared to be different.
Yeah.
I think that's why they're so silent. You know, it's like if you're not the ones influencing the negative, you can't be that positive, because how's that going to make you look? You know, but you can. You know, it only takes one person to stand up to something wrong to realize that you actually have an army behind you, you know? So.
Yeah, I agree. I just didn't want to say it. Yeah. I don't want to be that guy.
Oh, he stood up or she stood up. I feel that way too, but if I stand up, will you stand up too? Like, Brian, you got me back?
Yeah.
You know, like,
you know, it's like that experiment of when they have people in a room, and they have actors in a room, and then they have people sit down, and they hear a bell ring, and the people stand up, and people only do what the other people around them do, right? It's some social experiment.
Yes.
You know, and so when the room started smoking up and no one moved, they kind of just sat there like, okay, well, no one's moving.
Exactly.
And I forget the reason for that, but when I look at it, it's like it can tell the difference between people who are willing to stand up and most people are just willing to just sort of follow the,
or it's just like these days, all these viral videos that go around about the fights in schools. Why are you recording?
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, dude, you can stand there and record. Like, you could just put that damn phone down and try to break it up. Like, some of those videos are brutal.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. Or call someone.
You know, like I said, though, it's always been there, because when we were in high school,
it has.
But we have people who were recording fights too.
I was like in a fight oh my God, I'm not a fighter. I was like in the bathroom and these girls were going at it. I was scared out of my ass, but I ran out and freaking told someone, you know, it's like, they're fighting in the bathroom.
Me, I was probably the guy like, yeah, let's watch this. You know, we can change this. I believe there's change. There's change that's possible. It doesn't have to be the silent killer no more.
No, and I don't think it should be. We've lost far too many lives. young lives,
Young lives.
you know, and come on, don't you guys want to be on podcasts? Come on, you know, like talk it up with us, you know, like.
And you're right. Simply, it's as simple as talking. This podcast has been the best form of communication for me.
Yep.
Borderline therapeutic, if not.
And I think you've nailed it. If that wasn't your goal to begin with, you know, I think you created something bigger than probably what you ever imagined. You know, and
God, this started just me wanting to
just
talk shit with my friends, you know. And then it just brought people to want to. I realized that there was a medium needed for people to want to express themselves,
Yes.
and in the same sense, it was allowing me to express myself.
Exactly.
And it's important to just talk to people, just talk. That's it.
And I agree. And like I said,
Look someone in the eye and talk.
even if they have mascara running
Yeah.
under for like 5 minutes.
Dude, I literally stop talking to people if they're on their phone. I mean, yeah, granted, I catch myself when people are talking to me.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to like finish a text message, like,
Yes.
okay, just
Yes.
hold up, bro. You know?
Yeah.
But just when someone's doing this and I'm talking to them, I'm like, all right.
Yeah. And truthfully, it happens a lot. I mean, I'm
happens
guilty of it too,
a lot,
you know,
yeah.
but I try to raise my kids to not be like that either, you know, and these days it's so easy, right? Like, oh, they're acting up. Here you go. Here's your iPad.
Right,
you know, like
right.
leave me alone kind of
Shut
thing.
up.
Exactly.
Go to the side.
Here you go. You know, we're eating somewhere, but I'm trying to practice breaking that habit too, you know, like my son will go somewhere, and because I used to let him use the iPad all the time, he doesn't know how to have a conversation with people, right? So I had to stop doing that. Like, hey, you're with your cousins, go talk. You guys talk, you know, like go play outside. You don't need to play video games, you know, and just things like that. But yeah, it just takes one person to start the conversation, and that is exactly what you did with this whole
Thank you.
podcast. Is you started the conversation. You've started many conversations, and I think it's great, you know, about different things. And you don't always, if you can't relate, you know, there's so many, I think you target so many different alleys of things, and I think it's cool, you know. And like, oh, what if I didn't know Steve O'Shea, and what if I didn't know Frank the Crank? And but it's nice, you know.
And imagine I didn't know any of these
You
guys
didn't,
when it was,
yeah.
and yeah, I guess I don't like talking up the podcast, honestly, but I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
It's just because it can allow for this sort of
Exactly.
talk.
You learn, we learn, you know, like everybody learns, and it's educating. It's, you know, bringing awareness,
Yeah.
regardless what topic it is, you know. So, cheers. to
Cheers.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, gosh. Jesrae Moylan. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Honestly, like I said in the beginning, it's like I didn't expect it to come so soon. It's I know it's tough thing. I can't even fathom what you went through and what you continue to go through. But I think the changes that you're making is absolutely does raise memory justice.
Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely, like I said, you have your days, but it's the beautiful irony of it all, you know.
Don't let the naysayers discourage you from, oh, all of a sudden, like we said,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, all of a
Yeah.
sudden, that shit happened all of
Yeah.
a sudden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I've put myself out on social media far before this whole campaign, and I've grew thick skin through it all. And definitely this is far more emotional for me. So I will not allow anyone to stray me away from doing what I want to do. And, there's always going to be negativity. You do good, you do bad, there's always negative.
Yeah.
you
You've
know.
been absolutely powerful and strong throughout this whole podcast. So
Thank
I
you.
really
That's 'cause I
appreciate
didn't wear
it.
the lashes.
And so, any last words? Push anything you like.
No, just, thank you guys for listening. Thank you again for having me. Thank you, Brian. And yeah, for those of you who want to keep up with our movement, just follow us on social media at LG Muddy, and talk it up with us whenever you want. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jesrae Moylan on the podcast. Thank you everybody for joining, listening, watching, whatever you're doing. It's important. Let's keep talking to each other. I think just having genuine conversations. We've lost it today. We've absolutely lost it today. Just because it's so easy to send a text message or an email. but you don't know what looking into someone else's eyes would do for a person when you leave for them, whether you're talking for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days.
Exactly. Even when they have mascara running under their eyes,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Look them in the eye and have that conversation.
For sure. So thank you again. Thank you for allowing me to pick your brain and, you know, talk about something that's, you know, super difficult to talk about.
Thank you, and thank you for loving my brother.
Oh, of course. He's always in my heart. I think about him all the time. And Ray, we love you. This one's
Love
for
you,
you, brother.
brother.
So thank you again for listening. Until next time. Brian, who do we love?
Ray.
We love everyone, you know. So love you guys. Peace out. See ya.